Hey guys, here we are in Mel Bay's Book 1 and we're looking at Shenandoah. In Hal Leonard we saw a look at this and he played it with quarter notes, and now it's probably even earlier in the Mel Bay book than it was in the Hal Leonard, and you can see how much more sophisticated it is. Really the point of the two books is highlighted with a song like this, where we were just learning note reading and the F sharp note in the key of G at that time. Now in Mel Bay we've got it in C still, but look at all the chords that he's putting in. He does suggest that you don't have to play them all and that the teacher can play some of them or the student can play a high note of the chords, but the difference in their styles is really exemplified by this song. In fact, it can be seen that the Mel Bay book, although for beginners and introducing note reading, is going to take us so much further that you might as well treat it, as we are now, as a secondary book after you've gotten through Hal Leonard, if this style appeals to you. We're in the key of C, starting on this low G at the 3rd fret. The melody is on this C note. The third one being a strum. I was just going to say strum the chord with one of my slashes, but then since I'd drawn so many others, I went back and put that chord back in anyway. It's a little bit of a mess there, but hopefully you get it. So we get the G, 2 C's and a strum. Time filler on the A minor, we could take it out in fact, on beat 3. So G to C's. I'm going to actually make my C chord already with a G note in the bass. Hit that string, 2 C's and a strum. Go into the A minor. Do this run on the D string, D, E, F. F is a weird note to come out of an A minor chord, but really it's anticipating the F chord in the next bar. So when we come off A minor, D, E, F, you'd be thinking of the F chord, where we hit this A note, the 3rd of the chord, and slip back into a C. It's a little messy, but that G note is the melody of this. So we get that's your tune so far. G, C, 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 time filler on A minor, F to the C, C, B, and 2 notes of the F chord again, the A and the F, G, A, and G, E and a C chord, and then the C chord itself. So back up to the F, G, A, G, just a nice country kind of move there. G, A, G, go into a C chord by hitting the E note and then the strum. Rest on beat 4, play the G on the and, going back into F. Strumming the F and A again. They're thinking A minor, but not playing it, so don't worry about it. Just play the E, G, E notes of an A minor 7. Open D of a G chord, and the bass note of a C chord. You don't have to make the C. I tend to because there's a good chance I'm going to use it later in my own playing. Low G again. So we've gone beat 1, 2, 3, rest on 4, play the G on the and of 4. Back onto C's after the G, but in an A minor chord now. 1, 2, 3, tied to beat 3, we play on the and 4, leap again. This time we are on the root of an A chord and the open G of an E minor. He's changed octaves here, C, D, and a 3rd, the C and E of an A minor chord. Held for 3 beats, rest on beat 4 and hit that C again. In here we get, from the C note, a G7 chord. The D note, the open G, the 3rd string, and the F note. And the C to end. G7 is the 5 of C, so that phrase is over. Let's try maybe from this low G. So G, C, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3. Top of an A minor chord, hit the C again, G, the 3 strings, C. I've used a repeat. As you know, the book wouldn't, but to compress time, I'm going to go from this G back up, back into the C chord, A minor, to run into an F, C chord, C to B to F. The A note of an F chord is the melody. In the chord, G, A, G, E, and the C chord again. Rest on beat 4, or tie over. It's really a tie. I'm using a rest to make it easier to write. G, then the A notes of an F chord. Play the third. Open D to the C note of a C chord. On the and, we'll play the G. We will not play ending 1. We play ending 2, this A minor here. 2, 3. That bar is identical, which means I wrote it wrong. In fact, that bar is not identical, which is why I used ending 2. C, 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 E, the E of an A minor chord, then the E and G of the E minor chord. Now we're going to play the same stuff. A minor, hit the C note again at the end of the bar, the G7, and a C. And here it all comes again. I'm preparing my C chord first, so I got a G and a C note. I think I wrote it exactly as written. I tend to overplay. I miss the simplicity and the beauty of openness and gaps. This has left us a lot of gaps, single notes, and rests. Let's hear it one more time, paying attention to that. 1, 2, 3. So the way I would tend to play this is to fill it up a little bit more, especially for my own sense of counting, so I don't have to keep the beat in my head. but it's probably better the other way. Talk to you guys later. Have a good one.